Hello and welcome
Okay.
to PSA's Let's Squawk About It. I'm Sam Schaefer, and today we're discussing the Activin gene and some of the research behind it. That being said, I'm pleased to welcome our guest from the University of Nigeria.
Ikele Chinyere.
Please start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. I'm Ikele Chinyere Mary Cynthia. I'm a graduate of University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Currently, I'm a graduate researcher in the field of animal genetics, engineering, and biotechnology, with my species of interest to be poultry or avian. So today we'll be talking about Activin gene and phylogenetics, and the effects and implication of this Activin gene in the poultry species or in the avian field of study.
To start us off, let's talk about what the Activin gene does and what it is.
Briefly, we know that gene is a very essential part of life. Like the gene is like a unit of hereditary in every living organism. And these genes are made up of nucleotides and protein coding. The activin gene specifically has been reported to have a lot of implication in cell proliferation, differentiation, apoptosis, even in helping to maintain the normal metabolism of animals, especially with respect to the avian species. It also encourages the immune system and wound repair, and equally the tissue resounding mechanism of the animal. That's when you talk about the muscling intensity or the bone stratification of the avian species with respect to poultry, such as guinea fowl. So this activin gene is necessary for us, that is being studied, because this activin gene carry out a lot of apoptosis when it has to do with the poultry industry. The gene itself is part of the normal body growth, proliferation, normal cell division, and help in maintaining the the internal environment with the external environment of the animal. That's where you talk about the animal's adaptability to the environment as a result of the genetic makeup in line with the environmental factors. So that's what this activin gene does. It's, it has high prolificacy. It's been seen that organisms that have this high level of this activin gene, they are highly prolific in nature than their counterparts. That's one of the benefits of this activin gene. Most times, this activin gene can be replicated in form of, let's say, tissue cell culture, whereby this gene is being imbued into the animal. Although it has its aftermath effect, but then it helps to increase the productivity of the species in the long run.
Great. And yeah, so obviously it plays a pretty big role. And what have we learned about the Activin gene through phylogenesis?
Phylogenesis has to do with, let's say, the hierarchy in the hereditary mechanism. Just as you have the ancestral tree, like you have the grandfather, the parents, then you come down to the children, which are the offspring or the progeny. So we talk about phylogeny. Phylogeny is a branch field of study that studies the link between these organisms as they transcend from one generation to another. Just as in human beings, you keep this adaptability process, evolution and adaptation. That is the link of this phylogeny. So when it comes to animal, in response with this activin gene and phylogeny, it's been throughout the research study, it's been found and it's been reported that this activin gene, it cuts across organisms that tend to have the same physiological makeup, like just you have as in guinea fowl, although the variation with like the intensity of the gene varies across species. So let's say you have the guinea fowl, you have the pigeon as a bird, you have the turkey, you have the normal gallus, the chicken, the normal chicken. You have you have the quail, yeah. So as it cuts across this organism as a species, the gene intensity tends to vary because of the differences in the physiological makeup of this organism. So that's why it's necessary to study this activin gene, because the level of the activin gene in chicken can specifically be the same with the same level of activin gene in turkey as a bird. or in guinea fowl, or in quail. So each organism exhibits organism differences. Each organism have the specific characteristics and feature they display as an interaction with this activin gene.
Yeah, and when you mentioned about it varying across different species, is there a certain species that tends to have more, and is there a certain species that you find that tends to have less?
Well, the species that should have more is in terms of morphology. The bigger the size of the species, the bigger the extent of the gene. You know, turkey has bigger morphology in terms of body size and weight than the quail. So it goes in an ascending order, whereas as the gene decreases, it transcends down to the smallest species. So the higher the species, the higher the variation and the interaction of that particular gene, and as well as the results, the aftermath effect that the gene is supposed to like the results of the gene in the physiological aspect, because the human, like animals, are an interaction of the genetic makeup and the environmental makeup. An animal gives you what you give it. So the internal makeup is what portrays in terms of productivity. So the higher the morphology, the higher the activin gene.
Interesting. What would you say, like, for producers of poultry, what can they learn or utilize from studies about the activin gene?
Activin gene. Okay, the producers, what they can learn in the study of this activin gene is they should tend to learn that this activin gene can as well be implicated when it comes to, let's say, productivity of a species. Before you venture into poultry production, just as you have to do your selection of species. For example, you want to set up a farm. So in respect to this activin gene, the producers or the farmers should put in mind that this activin gene helps in the prolificacy of a species. It helps in the well-being of the animal. So this activin gene, most times, if it is being found to be in a reduced amount in an animal, there are equally some drugs, let's say some immune boosters, that this activin gene can be found as an AI, as an active ingredient. It could be incorporated in the feed of the animal, and then you tend to get an increase in productivity. The gene itself holistically is for the well-being of the animal. Let's not forget that it helps in wound repair, in apoptosis, in homeostasis, in maintaining the normal internal environment of the animal. Even helps to some extent that you see animals like their adaptability strength is very high, whereas the weaker ones, any harsh environmental condition affects them. With the presence of this activin gene in their body system, they can withstand any harsh environmental condition in terms of change of the ecosystem, or in terms of change of the weather or the climatic condition of a particular place.
So it sounds like having an understanding of activin can be beneficial for producers in understanding how they care for their poultry, how they can benefit different breed selections. Activin gene can also cause variations in productivity for different breeds. So it really helps producers determine what kind of birds they're going to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Very interesting to know. And again, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. I think it's very interesting stuff and definitely something for researchers and breeders to kind of keep in mind when they go forward with working with these birds.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us again today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah.
The pleasure is mine.